Surf's up, guys, it's Mauisnake here, and today I wanted to show you the best way to download demos from HLTV. In April of this year, Cloud9Win, also known as David Balderston, put together an application in order to download multiple HLTV demos en masse while just not having to worry about them. Because the way that you have to download demos from HLTV at present is as following. You go to the team's page that you're interested in, you click the match that you're interested in, you download it, and sure, it works. It does work. It's fine. Obviously, it's fine. I mean, a lot of people do this. This is pretty much how everybody in the industry downloads their demos. But let's say I'm actually interested in downloading G2's game against Mousesports in addition to the one against NIP. I have to go to the previous game here and wait. Because right now, if I try to click this GoTV demo just link, what'll happen is I'm limited. HLTV doesn't want to let people download multiple demos simultaneously. So what's so great about David's application is as following. No waiting around for hours downloading demos one at a time. It'll auto-download a team's demos by time frame or an event. It'll download all maps or a single map. You can queue up specific demo links. It will auto-unzip and is free. What more can you ask for? The thing to note about this is that it's not that this downloads simultaneously, it's that it will download demos one after the other, so you don't have to worry about it. And I found this to be incredibly useful. I know Adren from Liquid is using this right now, and I mean, Adren asked me about this thing because he knew he was interested in not having to waste his time. And I think that's something that we all value, is not wasting our time. So that's really why you should download this. I'm going to put the link of this downloader in the description below. And also, after I finish kind of previewing the application, I'm going to have an interview with David that you guys can watch so you guys can get a little insight about how he made this. So really quickly, I'll run you guys through how this demo downloader actually works. The first thing you have to do is you have to type the team name that you're interested in. So if you're interested in Mousesports, obviously you can type that. If you're interested in Astralis, you can type that. It'll query the HLTV website to find the team ID, and then it'll just put that in there. It's not really like you have to think about that too much, but you have to be proper with your spelling. It's not case sensitive, but it is. If you spell something incorrectly, this thing can malfunction. So just type things correctly, or just use the number. The way you get the number, if you're interested in that, and maybe you're trying to spell a team name that is weird or has some weird characters, is you actually go to the team's page, and then at this URL there is a code right before the team's name, and that's the code that it pulls. So the way it would work again is that I would type it, just kind of click off of that, it'll query it, and then there's the number. And then what you can also do is you could search the past couple months so that I can get all of Mousesports games, or I can actually type a tournament that I'm interested in. So Flashpoint 3 was the tournament that Mousesports just won. It'll query HLTV to find that name, and then it'll get its event ID, which is found the same in a similar way. I'll show you guys just for your ease of use, is that when you go to Flashpoint 3 here, there's the number right there. It's like the same thing in the URL bar, so you can just find it right there if you're interested in, whoops, didn't mean to do that. And then what you could also do is you can use specific links. So if you click this, it'll actually gray out the top portion of the application, and you can just put all of the games that you're interested in one by one. So what I could do is I could actually just open these all in new tabs, copy all these links, and then I could just paste them into this, pressing enter between every link, and then it could also download them. But I'll just show you guys how it works when you just type in Mousesports Flashpoint 3. And also you can check to unzip it after the download, which is really just a nice quality of life thing. I think I told him that when I was trying out the beta for him, but either way, it's really, really handy. And also make sure that it goes into the right folder. This is just, I think, the standard default one that I'm using on this computer. So starts download, and that's it. I can just walk away at this point. I don't have to worry about what's going on here. Actually, something to note. It will not work. It will not work if you are downloading off of the website at the same time, because HLTV does not. It still is recognizing that it's from your IP. It's still recognizing that it's from your computer. So you have to either use the application or a browser. You can't use both simultaneously. So that's one thing to note. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I can just walk away now. This is going to take a long time because HLTV just takes forever to send out information. But what's nice is that when I look at this green bar right here, it'll I could just minimize this application, and that's still going to actually progress. And what this bar indicates is the batches of demos. So it's going to actually be 5 BO3s in this package, and I'm going to get all of them. But the green bar there isn't for the total in terms of getting all of the demos at once. It's getting just one BO3, and then this green bar will actually restart if I'm not mistaken. So what I could do is, if I'm using, let's say, a program like Skybox, as soon as I see this green bar at the bottom here has actually moved on, I can, or has kind of reset itself, then I can actually go to Skybox, upload the demos that I just got, and then I can, just come back to it whenever I feel like it. But all in all, this saves so much time. Here's an interview, though, with David, the creator of this application. I hope you guys get some insight out of it. I hope you guys enjoy, and make sure to give this guy mad props, because this application just saves so many people so much time. Here you go. Okay, so we're into the Q&A section of the video now, where I'm talking with David Balderston, also known as @C9Win. And the first thing I want to ask you, David, about this is what motivated you to make this?
So I originally made this when I first started making Cloud9 content. I wanted to make like an Astralis scouting report because it was like their first big match when the ATK lineup was coming in. And so I wanted to do like a 6-month report. And so I needed to download 6 months of their demos. And so that's when I started looking into like scripting and downloading all of the demos off of HLTV and going around like their restrictions and all that kind of stuff. Well, not going around, but just downloading one at a time.
So it was actually, you were actually doing your own research. You wanted
Yeah.
to, okay, cool. So were you, okay, actually this is off of that. Did you intend to, were you trying to be an analyst, or were you just doing it to help out Cloud9?
So for a couple years, I'm a big like Laker basketball fan as well. And when you look at like the Lakers content sphere, there's a lot of people who make like really interesting content. Like one person whose name is Laker Film Room, he'd always make these like breakdowns of how the offense works, how the defensive rotations work, all this kind of stuff. And so I had always wanted someone to do that for Cloud9 because I loved Counter-Strike, but never played professionally, never got to like any sort of high level, anything like that. So I always wanted someone to do it. And then after like 2 years, I was like, well, I've been wanting this for 2 years. Like, I guess it's me.
Yeah.
So then I wanted to start doing stuff, but I had no knowledge. So everything I was doing, I was like where I feel like you and a lot of these people can watch like one demo and get like a whole take on everything. I was watching like 15 demos to like reiterate that the point that I felt was right
Yeah.
was right. So that's why when I was doing the scouting report, I was like, I'm going through every demo so I can look at like everything. And I also built like a 2D mapper. So I was mapping all the positions and everything so I could kind of use that as backup because I had no clout. So I felt like I had to absolutely prove everything
Yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt. So if I say that, Device likes to play this way on Nuke, I have like an image from 10 different maps of Nuke of him doing that.
Okay, that's really cool that you were that thorough. Yeah, I think that's just mad admirable. So props to you for all of that.
Thanks.
I'm okay. So I want to ask about how the downloader works itself, because I'm just curious. Does the name grab? So it does this thing where when you type in the name of a team, it'll query. It seems like it briefly queries HLTV, and then it spits out the number for that team. Is that from URLs? Are you just using that, or is it something else on the web page itself that you're getting?
So there's a GitHub repo that's a HLTV. It's like someone made an API that essentially does go to HLTV and then goes through like the web page and grabs like the information for you.
Oh, okay.
So if you don't know, a GitHub repo is where people post like public code. So someone who wanted to scrape HLTV made this whole thing to scrape HLTV, and then they made it public so that way everyone can use it.
Okay.
So I use that, and then so essentially I can make a call that says, okay, here's the name, and then it goes, to their website, downloads the website, scrapes it, finds the ID, because the ID is what I use for everything. Because the names can just get sloppy. And so once it gets the ID, then I use that to kind of go through everything else.
Gotcha. So how are actually more about it actually. I was curious when you're pulling from a team and then you're pulling from a tournament that they played, is that
Mhm.
similarly using the GitHub repo that you're talking about, or is it some other programming feature where you're because it feels like when I kind of just looked briefly at the URLs and things, it kind of looked like you if I wanted to do Astralis at Flashpoint 3, the easiest way I could see finding a list of that is I go to results on the HLTV page, and then anytime there's a link that says Astralis in it, it would pull from that. But is there a better way that's more consistent, or like that doesn't involve using a URL, or is it the same thing with the repo?
So I believe that HLTV has like these like hidden URLs that you can actually like put in the URL, like the team name or the team ID, and then like the tournament ID or whatever,
Oh
and then it'll
yeah.
give you the results page of just that.
Okay. I
Um,
I think I've
so
accidentally stumbled onto those kind of pages
yeah.
before, and I don't know how I got onto them or anything like that. But yeah, that makes total
Mhm.
sense. So it would just be a
So
scrub from that page.
right, so that's what the GitHub repo is doing is I'm giving it the ID, I'm giving it the tournament ID, and then it knows how to query that URL to get just those results, and then it gives me back everything that it is on that page.
Okay. Okay. I'm curious. Do you have any idea about how many users are currently using the downloader?
Uh, um, I can look it up. If you want to go to the next question, I'll look
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and
Sure. We can
see
come back to
how many
that
people
one.
have actually downloaded it.
Sure. Is there? So this is something I've asked you before, but for other people, is there any chance you think HLTV could block this application from working?
So I I'm not gonna say no. Or sorry, I'm not gonna say no, they can't stop it because they could probably find a way. Um, but it's just using the normal URLs. So they would have to somehow so I don't really know how they would because it isn't any different from your computer as if you're just going to HLTV and going through the web page, except my app goes a little bit faster. So if they wanted to kind of go crazy, they could see that, oh, this person made, 10 requests in
Yeah.
2 seconds. Like I'm just going to immediately block them. But then they might run into the issue of people just like spam opening tabs.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why in the app, I have a little limiter where say you're downloading, it's at 15 demos. So say you're downloading like 30 demos at 15, it'll pause for a minute and then like kind of continue on.
Mm,
So that way it doesn't just overload them because then Cloudflare, their like thing to stop people from doing this,
yeah.
will stop you. So I don't think there's any way they could. And if they did, then I could just go into the app and say, hey, instead of pausing every 15 demos, pause every 5 demos. And then I could just continue slowing it down. Because the whole point is that, you want to download like 30 demos. And so you start it and then you go to bed.
Yeah.
So like the whole point isn't necessarily like how fast can I get these, even though that's helpful. It's like how can I get my time back and
Yeah.
go do literally anything
It's
else.
so you can walk away from the computer and not,
Right.
yeah, because if I think the main purpose of this, okay, yeah, actually, if people aren't aware of this fact, actually, if you try to download two things from HLTV at once, it'll just block you immediately from trying to do
Right.
that. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, so it was just a lot of like, I was just sitting there all the time, clicking and then just like, you wait 10 minutes because it takes forever
Yeah, and then you have to
and
go
you're just like
back.
doing nothing.
Yeah.
Um, so it has 583 downloads right now.
Okay.
So how many people are actually using it? I don't know, but that's how many people have downloaded it.
Okay. I'd be interested if after a week after I make this YouTube video, if you want to like if you tell me, or I'll write in the comments
Mhm.
of this video too, just how many total downloads it has. So people should try it out. I will put obviously put a link to grab this in the description of this video. But do you have any plans for future updates or what features you think could go into this? It feels like it's pretty good as it is. Like I don't think it
Mhm.
needs too much. But was there anything you saw?
Well, I have an update coming shortly for Ancient to add it.
Oh, right, yeah.
There's currently so in the GitHub thing that I used, it didn't have Ancient as part of it. So I actually submitted code to make it part of it, but the person hasn't yet released it yet. So once he does that, then I can update my app with the latest release of his stuff. So my stuff's all ready to go. I'm just waiting on them to finalize it. So Ancient will be next. I also added in a thing to stop your computer from going to sleep while it's downloading, because
Oh,
then that breaks the downloads.
yeah.
Um, but as far as features, I've gotten some good feature requests of people who want to like continue diving in. Like one person requested like they want to download a specific player like who has a high
Yeah.
rating.
Yeah.
So like you like say, hey, show me, Yakindar who has like above a 1.1 on Nuke. Like just download all those maps or something. So I've kind of been like mulling that over. I tried to do as little features as possible because I think if I released a thing that had just 20 buttons on it, I think the immediate reaction would be this is too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it's very simple, it's like team ID, tournament ID, or number of months. Do you want it to unzip it for you or not? And that's like, and then you just go. Um, and it also has a place where you can just paste in the URLs. So if someone wanted to do something like that, they could at least just paste in, the 10 URLs they find from HLTV of Yakindar's good games, and it would still do that. But if you or other people think that that would be helpful, I would love to add more stuff. I just didn't because one, I could keep adding stuff and never release, so I wanted to just release it.
Yeah, I get that.
Um, and two, I was afraid to make it. I was afraid to make it too complicated.
Yeah, I think it's nice and streamlined right now. Like I'm not confused about anything that's on the application itself. I think that's mostly it. Okay, actually, I'll just ask maybe. So you said something at the beginning about how you wanted to maybe like I don't know, gain clout is too simplistic, but you know what I mean. Like just you wanted to get a foot in the door in this space. Is there anything that you're working on now? Like I know you were trying to make more Cloud9 content, but obviously that's not really. I mean, you could go back in time, but it's not super viable for future stuff unless they get a team again. So, is there any? I
Yeah.
actually, yeah. So, like, what are you working on now in regards to the space?
I am working on making like a series of videos on the old roster.
Okay.
It's just taking me way too long because I get way too sad every single time I like
Oh,
go in and start doing stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Um, because I love that roster. I think their talent was. I think they had a ton of talent. I just think they needed more time, more stability. Anyway, so just I get too emotional when I like open it up every time.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's totally good. It's just one of those things where, like every time I'm making content, it's like I'm making it about stuff that's going on. It's like kind of more exciting, and now it's just like ugh. And because when I did an interview with Thorne, and when I interviewed him, he's like Cloud9, like I can see them not coming back, and I'm like, oh no,
Yeah, that
like
hurts.
please.
Right.
Um, so I'm working on that, and then when I talked about I made like the 2D mapper for Astralis, I've also have like I have a bunch of like side projects that I'm programming too that I want to like expand how easy it is to get demos or expand how much like statistical information is in. So I'm working on trying to do a bunch of demo scraping of like everything and add in a bunch of like new stats that someone could then go and look up. Like a new stat, an example would be instead of just a flash assist, like did your molly make someone move, and then give them an assist for
Oh,
that.
okay, yeah. Like displacement.
Um, yeah, and so I've been toying around with that. The issue is scraping demos is very difficult because there's so many different tournament organizers,
Yeah.
and they're all so different. And like, what happens if they're having to like break and change servers? That like changes how the demos like. There's all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been my plan, is to work on like just stuff like that and continue like I don't know. I think that this community space is very just still new. I think that there's a lot of cool stuff that could still come.
Okay.
So
Cool. So maybe a bright future in terms of programming in the CS space. I think I'm going to end it there just because don't want to make it too long. This is more about
yeah,
just displaying what's so cool about the app that you made, and I'm glad that you took the time to talk to me. And hopefully, people found some insight into this or what's capable with just programming in CS in the future, or maybe just working on their own projects. So thanks a lot, David. Uh,
yeah.
so
Thank
yeah,
thank you so much. When I first tweeted about it and you responded saying I want this, that was like a huge motivator for me. So I really appreciate that because when I tweet about programming stuff, having mostly an audience that is there for Cloud9 content, like no one really cares. Um, so just you like validating that like, oh, people might want this idea was like a huge like motivation for me to actually get it out. Um, so I appreciate you doing that when I originally tweeted about it.
Yeah, yeah, a pleasure. I'm just thankful you made it. Like, that's awesome because there's so many people that come into this space and kind of like will say, I don't know, on Reddit or something like that, like, hey, is anybody interested in this crazy thing that I'm never gonna really make? And then they just take that validation and walk away and never do it. So the fact that you
Mm.
actually did it, I really have to give you just so many props for. But yeah, thanks so much, man, because it's made my life so much easier. I know Adren from Liquid is also using this, so like, there's
Oh,
people out
really?
there that are appreciating your work for sure.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for sticking to the end of the video, guys, and thanks to David for putting together the HLTV demo downloader. Obviously, there's no video here if he doesn't make that application, so props to him. Be sure to give him a follow on Twitter, guys. He's, like he said, he's working on a couple of things, and maybe you can get in touch with him if you're interested in something on the programming side of Counter-Strike, and it'll be really cool to see what happens in the near future in terms of what people are bringing to, like, stats, applications, just the way that we're going to be able to perceive Counter-Strike moving forward as more people are able to scrub more and more data and make conclusions based off of that data. It's going to be a bright time for CS moving forward, especially with the fact that this is all coinciding with LANs rebooting up. So give David a follow. Be sure to download his demo downloader. It will be in the description below. Let's try to pump up those numbers, see if we can get it up to 1,000. And all in all, that's going to be it, guys. So as always, being toxic is a choice.